There is a Spanish prophecy repeated through the centuries by different prophets. It speaks of a man of royal blood who will appear in the darkest moment of history, a hidden leader prepared in silence by God, who will change the fate of Europe and the world. Some say he is already alive. Who is he, and what role will he play in this end of times? Today we are going to discover what those prophecies say about the great leader of Tahoe, and I assure you that they are more impressive than you can imagine. For centuries it has been prophesied that in the darkest hour a caudillo, or leader linked to the Tahoe River, will arise in the Iberian Peninsula, the great caudillo del Tahoe. We are talking about prophecies that are repeated over and over again. Of the Portuguese Buc de Milas, Miguel Bulnes, Louis de Granada, Maria de Agreda, Martin de la Cruz, etc. They describe him as a serene, firm, fearless man. He will not be a politician looking for votes or a general looking for medals. He will be a man prepared in secret by God to face the decisive battle, faithful to the Pope, and he will appear in the darkest moment, when Europe trembles, when the church is confused, when it seems there is no way out, and as the last resort of God to stop the advance of evil. In France, there is also talk of a similar man. There they call him the Great Monarch, a Catholic king who, in the hour of chaos, will restore faith and put Europe on its feet. The French scholars describe him almost the same as the Spaniards describe the caudillo del Tahoe, a hidden man that no one expects and that will appear just when the Antichrist is advancing. Are we talking about the same character with two different names? Or will they be two different men, one in France and one in Spain, who will get up together to face the same battle? Some are convinced that it is the same. Others believe otherwise, that there will be two different figures, two different men but allies, who will join their forces in the great war. This leader will not be an improvised one, his root in a fallen royal branch, in a displaced and forgotten lineage. We are talking about a descendant of the Capets, of the House of Bourbons, of a branch separated from power, without a crown or a throne at present. The only royal Bourbons in a country today are the Bourbons Anjou in Spain, but there are other displaced branches, such as the Bourbons Orléans, the Bourbons de Sicily, the Bourbons Parma, and there are also displaced people in the Bourbon Anjou branch. Thus, the great leader will be an heir to the Catholic tradition, but without the corruption of the current power. He will not be someone in the front row, but a man who lives in the shadows, who carries the weight of exile, and who is therefore available for God to use. He will not appear with pomp or crown, but as a hidden servant who carries the heritage of centuries of a Catholic reign to put it back at the service of faith. And there will not appear a time of calm. His moment is the storm, a time like today, a world that lives in unprecedented apostasy, empty churches, divided bishops, despised sacraments, where universal fraternity is spoken of, but the name of Christ is left aside, where many pastors no longer guide, and faith becomes a blurry memory. When the powers prepare for global war, Russia advances towards Europe. China moves its chips to the east. Radical Islam dreams of entering the heart of the West again. And in the midst of everything, the world system of the Antichrist programs digital money, total surveillance, and a single religion without a cross. And how will we know who this caudillo del Tahoe when he appears? The prophecies insist on something clear. He will be recognized for his works and for his spirit. They say he will have the spirit of St. Francis Xavier, a burning millionaire who brought Christ to the ends of the world, who did not seek his own glory or human crowns. He only lived to light hearts. Will he then be a man who ignites faith, who spreads courage, who gives peace in the midst of war and justice in the midst of corruption? And there will be an even clearer sign. In a world devoured by hatred, he will show unexpected tenderness, not a weakness, but a different strength, the ability to look at the enemy and not hate him, to listen to the weak and lift him up, to teach with firmness but without arrogance. Many believe that he is already alive, that God keeps him hidden, waiting for the right time. The caudillo del Tajo will not come to conquer power for himself. His mission will be much greater. He will be a warrior and a teacher at the same time. Where others are filled with hatred, he will bring peace. Where injustice reigns, he will plant justice. Where the church seems asleep, he will awaken it with his example. And it does not mean that there will be no battles. Yes, there will be, and hard ones. But his way of fighting will not be only with armies. His greatest weapon will be the cross raised as a banner. And what will make him different will be his character. Pacifier but not weak, teacher but not naive. He will know how to listen with humility, but also command with authority. That is why his mission will also be spiritual and prophetic. And the enemies that the caudillo del Tajo will have to face will not be lazy or distant. The first is Russia, not as a people, but as a military power that will advance over Europe in the Great War. His tanks and missiles will put the continent against the ropes, and there the caudillo will have to rise. The second is radical Islam, which dreams of reconquering southern Europe. The prophecies describe it as the force that demolishes temples, burns images, and defiles the sacred. And the third is deeper, the system of the Antichrist, a global entrapment that seeks to erase Christ from the map. And this will be the most dangerous enemy, because not only does he try to govern countries, but also consciences. But the most painful thing will be that some of his adversaries will be inside the church itself. There will be bishops and pastors who bend to the system, who prefer the applause of the world to the fidelity of Christ. That internal betrayal will perhaps be the bitterest battle. The prophecies speak of a war that will not only be of armies, but of civilizations. And the caudillo del Tajo will be in the center of that storm. A decisive battle is described in the Pyrenees, on the border of Spain and France, which will be both military and spiritual, where Europe will be one step away from falling. And where the caudillo del Tajo, perhaps together with the great French monarch, will rise as the last defender of Christianity. Also in the Rhine, in Cologne, there will be decisive combats against the army of the East. Russia will be an enemy in the Great War. The caudillo del Tajo will be the one to stop its advance. And the most surprising thing, not only will it defeat it, but from there the conversion of Russia to the Catholic faith will come out. But it will not act only in Europe. The caudillo del Tajo will also lead the fight to the East. In the great final battle, the holy city will be liberated from the domain of the Antichrist and will proclaim Christ as Lord again. That will be the sign that the fight of the caudillo del Tajo reaches its fullness, the defense of faith to the very heart of the history of salvation. Therefore, the victory of the caudillo del Tajo will not only be military, it will be, above all, spiritual, and it will open a different time for the world. After the battle, a new peace will arise, a peace where Christ occupies the center again. Reopened churches, converted peoples, hearts lit up again in faith. It will be said that Spain and France will walk together like two columns that support the rebirth of Europe, where a new Catholic impulse will radiate to all continents like a second evangelization. The church that seemed defeated will breathe again. Brave bishops will stand up. Entire communities will return to the sacraments. Many who had apostated will return home. It will be a time of grace, a last chance for humanity to return to God before the final outcome. Well, so far the prophecies about the great caudillo del Tajo will not govern America directly, but his victory in Europe will be a sign for the Hispanic nations. And his Marian force, especially Guadalupan, will join the restoration of Europe that the great caudillo leads. And I would like to ask you, do you think that the great caudillo del Tajo is the same as the great monarch of which the French speak, or another different figure? And may God bless you and enlighten you to recognize the signs that are already before us.